Hi guys, Donald Trump is sounding very much like a Tory. So you remember when the Conservatives were in power over the last few years, when inflation was running at above 10%, they blamed it all on the war in Ukraine and the pandemic. Nothing to do with them. Then when it gradually came down all over the world, the Prime Minister at the time, Rishi Sunak, claimed it was due to his sound management of the economy. When the economy is terrible, nothing to do with them. When the economy is slightly better, give the Conservatives a pat on the back. Now, while they were clever enough not to be as transparent as that, Donald Trump, of course, has no filter. Now, have a listen to how he described the current US economy as a result of his policies, including the damaging tariffs.
My question, sir, is when the stock market spiked, you said this is the Trump effect. When the numbers weren't so good earlier this week, you said it's the Biden effect. Are you only taking ownership of the good numbers and not the bad numbers?
Well, I think he did a lot of very bad things, and despite some of the bad things, we're overcoming them. But he was bad on the border. He was bad on the economy. We had the worst inflation in the history of our country. Look, Biden gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. People, it didn't matter what they made because they were losing their shirt because of costs. Now take a look at what happened. Oil is down, gasoline is down, groceries are down, eggs. You were the one that asked me. You asked me about eggs. It was the first week. I didn't even know anything about what were you talking about. Egg prices were so high you couldn't buy eggs. They didn't have any eggs. And they said Easter is going to be a disaster. Well, we had Easter at the White House, and we had thousands of eggs, and they were down 87%.
Yeah, a lot of that, of course, spike was because of bird flu. But when does it become the Trump economy?
Why do you say that?
Well, tell me,
we had the same bird flu as he had.
When does it become the Trump economy?
It partially is right now, and I really mean this. I think the good parts are the Trump economy, and the bad parts are the Biden economy. Because
you're not supposed to be saying that. You're supposed to be a bit less transparent. The good parts are the Trump economy, and the bad parts are the Biden economy. Okay. Look, Donald Trump honestly believes this will work, but it won't work. Now, it will work, of course, with the sycophants, the people who wear the red hats. Donald Trump could cost them their home, but they would still vote for him and still think he's doing a wonderful job. But your average person on the street will not be convinced by this. I keep coming back to the point of the incumbent. Now, there are a few exceptions, and we've seen a few exceptions recently. For example, the Liberals in Canada and the Labour Party in, I believe, the Labour Party in Australia. The Donald Trump effect turned what was an expected result into an unexpected result. But that aside, generally, if the incumbent is not improving the lives of ordinary people, it doesn't matter who you blame. Donald Trump thinks, okay, what I can do is continually blame Biden and then people will support me. You know, there are elections coming up next year. Let's hope that they go ahead. You know, we're talking about a guy who wants to be a dictator. But let's say for the sake of argument, these elections go ahead. Well, then people are going to judge Donald Trump and his party on if their lives have improved. And there's no point blaming Joe Biden or saying, well, things were worse under Joe Biden. They were not, but there's no point doing that because people will look around them and say, have things improved for me today? Not were they worse in the past? Are they better for me today? And if they're not better, and they're not going to get better because of these tariffs and other policies like cutting Medicaid and stuff like this, if people don't feel better, they're going to be angry and they're going to punish the incumbent. You got in because they punished the incumbent, not because you had good policies, because people were angry with the administration at the time, the Biden administration and Kamala Harris. They were not interested in putting them back into power, the Democrats. They decided to give them a bloody nose. A lot of people came out and voted for Donald Trump, not because they actually agreed with Donald Trump, but because they were angry. Now, they're going to be extremely angry at the midterms, and they're going to be angry at the next US presidential election unless you and your party can turn things around. You have to improve people's lives. If you don't, they're going to punish you. He surely understands that. Now, it's still early days, so he can get away somewhat with blaming the previous administration. But that's not going to fix people's lives or improve their lives. It's not going to fix their problems. And people will get tired of you blaming someone else. They'll ask you to take responsibility. They'll ask you to improve the situation for them. And pretending that things are getting better is not going to cut it. Once again, the sycophants, the people who wear those red hats, will vote for Donald Trump no matter what. But your average person will not.